Okay, here we go.
Let's do it.
Let's do this.
All right, you might need to sort of position your camera. Well, I don't know, take a step back.
What are we actually going to do today?
Well, firstly, you tell me about your back, how you injured it or hurt it.
Very unexcitingly.
And whereabouts the pain is and all that good stuff.
Okay, so I was walking with William on my back. So I had the carrier, so it may have been pushing in here, overextending me perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Carry on the front.
No, on the back. Carrier on the back.
Yeah.
Was fine with no pain during the walk. Got in the car, and then very slight little niggle in my lower back on the left-hand side, and then didn't think anything of it. It was just like it wasn't like a significant pain. It was very slight, and then just built and built for the rest of the day. So it just got tighter and tighter. And then by the end of the day, I was like, that went on for about
cramping up feeling, yeah. Not like any shooting pain.
Quite sharp. Yeah, it's quite sharp.
Shooting anywhere?
Shooting around the lower back. Yeah, okay. all around here.
Yeah.
And and then for the next 3 or 4 days, I'd sort of rehabbed it by the thing that really worked was getting the ball into my QL in that lower part of my back. So got a little cross ball in there. Well, actually just a med ball to start with because it was so tight.
Yeah.
So that worked really well. Decompression breathing seems to work really well, like that.
Yeah.
From foundation training. And then so 4 days, I'd say. And then I was pretty much back to normal movement. And now I'm pretty good. I wouldn't have been able to do that last week.
Yeah.
Okay. Wasn't even able to really lay down.
Bend over and extend, is it?
Yeah, that's fine.
All fine. Yeah.
But like, there's definitely the odd slight. It's not 100%, but it's like 99%.
Yeah. And it's always the things you're doing right that are like the trivial day-to-day shit that's what often triggers. Like with you carrying William. I'm not saying you in general, but I say like it's common for people to be like, how did you do your back? Like, I was leaning over the bath to pick my son up and it just went. Or I was like carrying the shopping back from the car and it just went.
There's definitely, I would agree. And I think there's definitely, like, it was really interesting because when it was tied, I felt twisted. I felt like this.
Yeah. That's your body compensating and protecting it.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely doing that, which I've not experienced before, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe I've just not been aware of it.
We talk a lot of our training about how pain starts here. So like your fight or flight mechanism, like your body's designed to protect you. Like as soon as you do something that's like, this isn't good, your brain goes into like protection mode. Like, and that's where some people just can't let go of the tightness. Like if you do something in neck and it's like you're shrugging up a lot because you're just like, I'm protecting that. And it's just like, that's how the body's response is. So letting go of that tension is sometimes quite hard. That's why the ball in there. So the ball in there is going to like ease up the tension. And that's why it feels good now. But I think the root cause of the problem, so the carrying William with the carrier on the back would have been just like the cherry on top of like a slow, long process of postural deviations, essentially. Do you want to take your top off? You have to do that for camera.
20 quid.
Sorry?
Only cost you 20 quid.
20 quid. That's a bargain. Just because obviously we've talked about it, but we can talk about the postures to the camera and to the people watching. Let me just bring up the photos that you sent as well.
Even now, stood here, I'm feeling it. Just this sore. It's not sore, it's just like a slight ache in the lower back.
So if you take a real big step back.
Could just be sore from the other day.
Yeah, and then go side on for me. Okay, so what I'm looking at here with Ben is the curvature in the spine. Okay, so when he's standing like really neutral, your lower back wants to curve in, what we call like lordosis.
This way.
And he's got, and also your hips shift forward. So you have like a anterior shift. So think more of a horizontal, like on a horizontal plane, like that way. Now, like imagine
you want me to pull them back?
I want you to, yeah. So your hips naturally are like shifted forward horizontally.
Like, oh, you mean like that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So a lot of people focus on the tilt.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem. But if you don't fix the shift as well, then you're never going to get rid of that curvature. So if you go put your hand, hold your elbows at 90 degrees for me, like you're holding on to some like sticks like that, yeah? And just so I can see your low back. So if you give me the shift back of the hips first, like 2 centimeters, like that, you're going to feel like the weight's in your heels. You're going to make sure your knees are just a little bit bent. And
could this also be hurting my knees?
Yeah, 100%.
Because I have had a bit of knee pain yesterday, and my left knee, when I was doing the Ironman, that was the problem.
And is it always the left side of your back that goes?
Mostly the left side.
Yeah. So your knees, right, are a dumb joint. They can only go, they can only bend 180. They can only bend forward and backwards. Your hip socket can go 300. Your ankle can go 300. So if your hips are out of line, like people talk about a problem and everything with the knees. So if your knees are getting the pain, it's always to do with your hips being out of line somewhere.
Yeah.
Because your knees are constantly taking a pounding in an angle that is not good for it. Okay, so we get a little posterior hip shift, so hips shifting backwards a tiny bit. And then, no, that's okay. I can't see your feet, so.
Oh, okay. I can change the camera.
Yeah, you're gonna have to stand like near the end of the room, but that's okay. Yeah, about there. That's good. Okay. Yeah, so I'm lining your hips up with your ankles, basically. On your hips stacked above your ankles. Can you go a tiny bit more back? Hips, there. Okay, bend the knees a bit more. And then when you do that, your hips shift forward. So without letting your knees straighten out, you're going to push the bum, just the bum, back a bit. There, that's it. So that has already started to flatten out your lower back. Can you feel that, like starting to lengthen your lower back a bit?
Yeah.
Okay, now give me a big...
Actually, I would say there's less tension in my lower back now.
And it's where? Where's the tension? Okay, we'll fix that. So you've pretty got, like, I don't know if you've been smashing your hip flexors a lot, but your hip flexors and quads, down your anterior 45, probably areas to work on, which is your 45-degree out.
I've been doing
down
so much
outside of your quad.
Oh,
do you go down? Yeah, where your IT band is, if you go into that one.
I've been starting to do a bit more of that because I suspected that was the case.
Yeah.
It's horrendously painful.
It's all connected. And you could probably carry that down onto your tibia. Muscle as well.
Down here.
Yeah, down the front section.
Okay. All right. So let me just write that. I've got a recording anyway, haven't I? So
you're recording. You're right. Okay. So also, like, if I just go back to the start instead of just focusing on your back, feet. Because I reckon my feet want to.
My feet want to turn out.
Yeah. So, and that's where. No. So that's where the tightness is on that anterior 45, and that's where you're probably tight in those hip flexors. So you want to make sure your second toe in is about in line with your hip bones. So if you draw a line down vertically from your hip bones, your two little knobbly bits that stick out in the front, roughly your second toe in is the one to be pointing forwards. Okay, and you might feel a little bit pigeon-toed in that position.
Yeah, definitely.
And then your knees are nice and soft, and you're just going to make sure those kneecaps are kind of pointing forward as well, as much as you can. There might be some issues to work on there, but we'll look at that.
Very good.
Okay, and then we're going to hold those elbows back up at 90 degrees for me. The reason we do this is it's going to help opening up the chest in a little bit. You're going to, I think you've got that shift on the hips, maybe like a centimeter more shift back on the hips. That's it. And then, but so at the moment, when you shift back, the reason you're feeling in your quads is because you're leaning your whole body back from the knees, essentially. I want you to just lean, just that. Yeah. That take it off the quads a bit.
A little bit.
Okay, we'll get it. Give me a big posterior tuck on your tailbone. So posterior tilt, sorry. Yeah, that. Keep going. Just force out as much as you can. You're going to feel your lower back like really.
Bloody.
Now you're going you're going shift. You're shifting forward now. So this is the hard thing to do, right? You got to do that tilt without letting your hips shift forward. And what you should feel is those glutes really engaged. Does it feel tight in your hips when you do that?
Yeah, around here, that sides. Like my feet want to turn out.
Yeah. Yeah. All those things where we talked about loosening up a minute ago, they're going to be like pretty key for you. But do you feel that tension come more out of your lower back when you do that?
Yes.
Okay. I need you to go a bit more shift back on the hips again.
Right,
and
so
leave,
shift is that way.
Think a little bit more.
Tuck and shift. More tuck and shift. But then I feel like I'm bowing a little bit.
Right? At the moment, when you shift, you go like this with your whole body like falling backwards. So your big toes probably come up off the floor.
Yeah.
I want you to go just the hips like that.
Okay. Right. Okay.
That. Right. Yeah. So your weight's a bit more centered over the. Hello, Billy. Oh no, that's Poppy. Hello, Poppy.
Poppy.
Okay.
Billy won't come upstairs.
Okay. Now without letting your hips shift forwards, now give me that tuck on the tailbone. That, and you're like, if you now run your hand along your lower back.
Yeah, I can feel it stretch.
Yeah, perfect.
That's nice.
That should feel really good.
Yeah,
straight away.
Good.
Okay, and what you can see now is your waistband, your line on your hips, your line on your shorts is like sitting horizontal.
Right. Okay.
So that's pretty good indicator that your hips are like, if you imagine your hips are a bucket of water, if I cut your waist off, like there's no water spitting out of those hips.
Is this like, is this normal? Is this like normal posture?
No, I'm like, we're supposed to have a little anterior tilt.
Oh, right? I see. But this is, we're trying to overdo it.
But because you're stuck in too much of an anterior tilt, I'm forcing you back into more of the other way. But you're really prone to shifting forward. So I need you to like keep that shift forward, shift. Because as soon as you feel it going to the back, when you're tucking that tailbone, it's because you've gone into a shift forward on the hips. Make sense?
Okay. Soon as what? Soon as I feel it in my back.
I'm feeling your lower back, and I see it curve. It's because you've done that. Yeah, you keep the tilt of the tailbone, but you start shifting forwards.
Okay.
So I need you to maintain the shift back while still tilting that tail, like what we call a posterior tilt, which is Ben rotating his hips underneath him. Okay.
I think I've got it back because I can feel my glutes now.
So I can see that lower back. It's not perfect, but it's like pretty flat to get there. But your hips, more importantly, are stacked above your ankle. There, that's where I need you. Yeah, there you go. Okay, now we activate that TVA. So imagine you're trying to, imagine where your hip bones are.
We should do something else.
Yeah, we got like halfway there. All right. So firstly, what are you feeling? Glutes, the hamstrings?
Yeah, glutes are on. Hamstrings, a little bit maybe. Tension, is off the quads. My feet want to turn out, but I'm trying to stop that.
You're going to fight that. Imagine you've got a ball between your knees and you're squeezing those together. So you don't let your knees drop in, but you just keep your adductors engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helped not let your knees drop out. Feet pull out.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so TVA, transverse abdominals. I want you to suck your lower belly button, like just below your belly button, and I want you to try and suck that part of your core in.
Okay.
And what you can't do now is breathe into your belly, so you're going to breathe into your chest a bit more. So you're just shorter, shallower breathing. Okay. Can you feel the core activated? Deep core muscle.
Yeah.
Can you feel it lift up your diaphragm when you suck in the core?
No. I wouldn't say I can feel that.
Do like a breathe out, and then this time as you breathe in, I want you to suck in as hard as you can and lift and try and open the rib cage as much as you
can. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Got a bit more core now.
Yeah.
Give me the shift the hips back a little bit more. Back. Keep going. That's it. There. Okay. Now what we've got is a nice, fairly straight lower back, but we want to fix that upper back. So I want you to imagine your shoulder blades are lifting up and out. So you're going to round your shoulders forward a little bit, like that. Probably not quite as much. Now, without losing that, just pull the elbows back so they're underneath the shoulders again. Start squeezing into the armpits. Yeah, hold that. And now I want you to imagine someone's got a string on your sternum and they're pulling you up to the ceiling very slowly. Don't lose the shoulder blades position. Yeah, you're starting to feel that thoracic.
Yeah.
Nice. You'll see this in a recording later, but your spine's sitting straight there. You keep wanting to go into anterior shifts, so I want you to like just make sure you're not your hips staying back. Yeah, that's it. You off, Josh? Yeah, no. Right, exactly. Yeah. See you later. Okay, last little thing. I need you to pull your neck back, tiny bit, lift your chin up a little bit. That's it. And then I need you to feel like you've got a string in the back of your head, which is getting pulled up to the ceiling. Nice. So 3 key things here are like, well, firstly, I'm looking at the joint stackings. I'm looking at your ear, your shoulder, your hips, your knees. Well, I'm not too fussed about your knees at the moment, but your ankles are stacked. And then I'm looking at the angles of your hips, and I'm looking at the angles of your rib cage as sitting pretty parallel. Okay. So most people have hips that are pointing down a bit and a rib cage that's pointing up a bit. Yeah. So we're trying to flatten those 2 out. If you pull your core in as hard as you can, and you tuck your tailbone, and you keep extending that upper back by pushing the chest open without letting his hips shift forward. What you should be feeling is glutes on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Core working hard.
Yeah.
And in between your shoulder blades, maybe your lats as well, if you've got a little squeeze in your armpits.
Lats, definitely, yeah.
Can you feel it between your shoulder blades much?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're still like, your focus here is to where you're still a bit rounded is to keep the protraction of the shoulders. So that's shoulder blades pulling up and out there, and then get your chest and rib cage up as much as you can while squeezing your armpits. But don't feel like you're trying to pinch your shoulder blades. We never want to pinch your shoulder blades. A lot of people get told to like, when they try to straighten their upper back, they're like, pinch your shoulder blades. It's like, no, that doesn't do anything. That's not what they're designed to do.
Okay. I think I'm likely guilty of saying
that.
Yeah.
Good. And this should be fucking hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
Nice. How's your back feeling?
Crampy.
Grumpy?
It wants to like cramp up. It's starting to feel because it's working.
Lower or upper?
No, upper. Yeah, lower back feels great actually.
That's what I mean. How's your lower back feeling?
Yeah, lower back feels fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right, you can relax on that one. That one's like, so imagine your passive hang, right? Where people hold onto a bar and drop. You're like decompressing your spine.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you're first of all, you're putting a lot of strain and like hypermobility for your shoulders, but you're also like relying on gravity just to pull you down. So as soon as I come off that bar, like it feels great. Your spine like decompresses, right? It feels good. As soon as you come off that bar, gravity starts acting on you again and pulling you down. So we need to actually teach our body to have tension in the right places to pull us up and away from the floor.
Yeah. This is good. I definitely need this because I'm just thinking I tried to get, well, I've been out running and stuff, but I've actually, since the Ironman, not been, just like pains in my knees and stuff and back. I've just been avoiding running.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
couldn't do.
Go back to where you were, sorry, and just stands facing me. Yeah, go back a little bit more. So your knees feeling it a bit now, not like in this particular way, but if you do a squat.
Very, very slight.
Okay, go.
It would take a while. It would take take a while for it to start.
So you see how your toes point out and your knees point out? We always get taught that to squat because it's like the other way around is really bad, but also repetition this way around is also pretty bad, right? Because if you imagine over time, your TFL is just going to get fucking tight as fuck, and your adductors are doing nothing and they're getting weak as fuck. So you're forcing your hips are really good at externally rotating, but they're not very good at internally rotating. Sorry,
that's a fair comment because that's what I'm.
That's what you travel with.
Well, that's kind of what I teach. I like doing example. Yeah, like rotate, screw your feet into the ground.
Yeah, and that's just like how everyone's taught to squat, right? Because we know that if the knees go in, knee valgus is really bad for the back. but also like knees out is considered safe, but actually it's like, what about the long term?
Okay.
So that's why you're probably getting knee issues, because when you squat there, your knee has to bend out. Yeah. Whereas when we talked about earlier, the knee's only good at bending in a straight line. So if you go into,
it feels like it might be because my hips are round like that as well.
Yeah, if you turn around from the back view, you do have a little bit of that, but I wouldn't
read into it.
I wouldn't read into it. Once you start decompressing your spine and straightening out, you're gonna. So your hips shift a little bit to the right. Is that what it feels like?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, tiny bit. And then like in that video, your right side is a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Probably because of that computer being on a mouse.
Maybe, or maybe it's just fucked. The other thing was that when I was Ironmanning, this I think it was I don't know if it was the adductor or the hamstring or something down here.
Yeah.
Really, really tight. All the time.
45 degrees inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's sorry.
Gracilis?
I can't remember the name of it, but it's a common one. It's like all connected up through your. So we have something called like the deep front lines. Like we have functional lines through the body. So if you go, that one is connected to the deep front line. So that up through into your hip flexors, up through into your psoas.
Yeah.
And do you get tight in the front of the neck here sometimes?
Yeah, I'd say so. A little bit.
Do you get tight under your clavicles, in and around your clavicles, in the front of the chest?
Yeah, I sort of stay on top of that a lot with lacrosse balls and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that's all connected, right? So that's why you probably feel that. Have a look I'll send you the anatomy training's functional lines, and you can have a look at those because they really apply to like how you move your body properly.
Okay.
So, take a step back with your right leg.
Oh, sorry.
Right, so you're in a split stance. Yeah. So like walking pace, feet hip width again, weight on the front leg, and then your back toe, like back heel right off the ground, so you're like right on the ball of your foot. Back knee bent. And then go hip, knees, feet a little bit closer, a little bit narrower stance. Yeah. Okay. I need your right hip to kind of like lift it a little bit, like that. Yeah. And then I want you to rotate your hips to the left, like that. And then I want you to keep your tummy sucked in. So we're activating that, keeping that lower back nice and flat, keeping that core sucked in. And then you're going to hip hinge here, and you're going to reach your right arm as far forward as you can. Straight forward like that. And then hinge at the hips. Don't let the knee go anywhere. All you're doing is pushing your bum back. You're keeping the back knee bent. Bent on that back knee. Yeah. You're starting to feel what you're starting to feel?
That's easy.
What are you starting to feel?
My left glute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
Okay, I want you to go more of a hip hinge. Keep going, bum back.
Oh God, it feels like it's got cramp.
So I want your right shoulder.
A lot of work yesterday.
Yeah, well, this is functional glute work. Keep your core in. I want your left shoulder blade. Oh, sorry, your right shoulder blade and your left glute to get as far away from each other as they can. So reach the right hand in front of the shoulder, not across the body.
That way.
Like straight in front of the shoulder rather than going like across the body. Yeah, that. As you're trying to reach me. Yeah, that's it. And then ground force tension. So you're going to squeeze the floor together between pulling your front heel back.
What's this movement called?
It's called, well, we call it, like functional patterns call it ground force tension. So you're just like pulling the ground together like that. You're not actually trying to squeeze the floor.
Very similar to foundation training.
Yeah, they apply similar. Okay. And now making sure the knee doesn't lock out here. Okay. I want you to use the hip extension only to bring yourself up. So you're going to try and keep your hips rotated to the left. You're going to keep the core in. And that glute should be like firing hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Do the right leg and just see how it feels compared.
Oh, Jesus.
Did it go down into the hamstring and calf at all, or just
hamstring? Hamstring. Yeah.
So I would
Oh,
smash
I do that.
the ball in your glute fold, get across the
Yeah.
ball, sit on a chair, and get yourself up. Like keep yourself up nice and tall. And then like when you're sitting down and that ball's underneath like a hard chair, just lift, like extend the knee, and just so you're just lengthening your whole back line on the back of your leg. And just get your leg will probably start shaking straight away. Like mine always does it.
Okay, so sorry, what am I doing here?
Same thing again with your right leg forward. Okay, so feet a bit narrower. So if you look on this side, if you can, I don't know if you can see the camera yourself, but basically your knee drops in a little bit.
Just make it bigger.
Yeah.
We want that or not?
No, so your knee, again, we will talk about alignment of that leg, on that hip, knee, and foot to be stacked. So when your knee drops in a little bit, because your hip's got that little shift to the right? So what I first need you to do is like shift your hips to the left a little bit, other left. Yeah. And then I need you to rotate your hips to the right.
Rotate my hips to the right.
Other right.
Oh, yeah, the right.
Yeah. So now your hip, now that's like pretty much fixed to your leg alignment. Okay. So in like we use gait as a reference a lot. So gait's like that step through of the running cycle. So your front leg is now externally rotated and your back leg is internally rotated. But you've created that with the hip rotation. Okay, so it should feel like your hips are quite locked in place. Okay, back knees bent again.
Yep.
And now your hips dropped out to the right again when you do that. So I need you to lift your left hip again. Nice. Okay, now imagine your hips are like on train tracks, okay? You're just allowed to go backwards. You're going to hinge back and you're going to reach the left arm forwards now. Keeping all the weight, like 80–90% of that weight should be on your right leg, so front leg. Give your belly button a suck in, still letting that gut hang out. That's it. Reach the arm forward, like allow your rib cage to like rotate as well. So if I draw a line from your left shoulder to your right shoulder to your left glute.
Yep.
That line is really long, yeah? Yeah. Does it feel easier, harder this side?
Harder.
I reckon we can bend over more. And I reckon we can rotate the hips more to the right, like in towards your front leg.
I thought this side would be easier. Maybe it is easier. It's both hard. Put it that way.
Stop. Sorry?
They're both hard.
Good. Hike your left hip more.
Sorry?
Give your left hip a hike. Like lift it up.
Okay.
That. Feel the difference in the right glute?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now your hips are level, so the right glute can fire properly. As soon as your hips are out of line, yeah, the glute can't function the way it needs to function. Good. Come up, use the hip extension. Use the right, so your right hip. Good.
Yeah,
so like one rep there on a body weight, yeah, and your hips are shaking because we've engaged it in the right way.
Yeah.
No back issue there?
No.
Cool.
Feel good? Yeah, that's feel good.
Elbows and knees on a plank for me. Go down, elbows and knees and plank. Can you go side on so I can see or the camera can see your spine, like so, yeah. Okay, so we're going to do an 8-point plank, and we're going to work on this.
I hate 8-point plank.
Yeah, you remember these, don't you?
Yeah.
Again, we're working on like mainly TVA, but you should be able to get a bit of thoracic. You should be able to get a bit between those shoulder blades if we engage the upper body right. Okay, so remember when we were standing and we got your like hips and shoulders stacked above each other? Now we're going to get the hips and shoulders level, parallel to the ground. Okay. So come hips up off the ground. And I want you to go quite high, a little bit more. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You're going to feel like your ass is sticking in the air, but you're actually going to be level with the ground. Okay. Bring your elbows back about 2 or 3 centimeters. That's it. Take the tension off the shoulders. So the elbows should be underneath your shoulders. Your hips, and I want to get your hips up again. There, that's it. That's where I need you. So that, like, now your body's like parallel to the ground, even though you probably feel like you're sticking your ass in the air.
Okay.
Okay, you're going to give me a little tuck on the tailbone, not too much, like that. You're going to suck in that tummy as hard as you can. You're probably already feeling a lot of core.
Yep.
Okay, like deep core, not just six-pack muscles.
Yeah.
Okay, and now what we need you to do is extend your upper back without losing your lower back. Okay, so we need to teach your body to use, like when you're carrying weight on your upper body, that lower core stays fucking braced and solid. So imagine you're trying to push your collarbones up towards your chin. Yeah, keep going like that. Keep going like that. Start feeling the upper back come into play.
Yeah.
Lower blades, good. Tuck your chin a tiny bit. Like you've got a ball under your chin. That's it. Okay. And then squeeze the floor together between your elbows and knees without losing that core, without losing that spine shape. Good. Keep sucking in as hard as you can. You should start getting a bit shaky there. And to breathe up into the chest. Use the breath to give me more opening up of that chest. And try and get that upper back more extended. Good. 10 more seconds. Keep pulling in that core. Is your neck all right?
Yep.
Good. And you can relax.
What was it? Long 10 seconds. Yeah, better. Okay.
Okay, I will show you one more to really focus on your TVA, because that's something that you really need to strengthen, because you're like a lot of training focuses on like six-pack rectus abdominals. We want to go deep the TVA, so your TVA is like that brace for the lower back.
Yeah.
So when you just, like, it's the only muscle that when you engage it, it expands, right? So you're gonna, as soon as you suck in the tummy, your whole diaphragm lifts because your TVA attaches to that diaphragm and pushes your ribcage up. We need to do loads of work on that. So if you go lying on your back for me, just go like the same like angle you're just at. So you're just gonna do a dead bug, but we're gonna engage it like way better. Okay, go hands straight up above your head towards the ceiling, and then go knees off the feet off the ground so your knees are at 90 degrees. I don't know if your feet are going to hit that wall. If you straighten your feet out, if they're going to hit that wall. Yeah, keep yourself back a bit. Okay. You don't worry about the arms for now. You can add the arms in later, but just show you this. Keep your arms up though. You're just not going to reach your arms back. So from there, breathe up into your rib cage and suck in the tummy nice and hard, and try and start getting some, like, you should be able to feel your core working just in this position. You should feel your back nice and lower back, especially flat against the floor. Yeah. So if you try and push your hands underneath your back, you shouldn't be able to do that, like your lower back. Okay. Okay. So maintain that. Don't let the tummy stick out. You're just going to extend from the hip one leg at a time. Just try and keep the knee a little bit bent. Keep those toes pointed to you. And always, so like imagine you're trying to kick your foot against the wall in front of you. Reach the heel. Like go real slow. Yeah, keep going. And then down to towards the floor. Don't let the knee lock out. Just keep the knee bent. That's it. Good. Little tap and then slowly back up. Nice. Give me 6 reps of those. And if that core's not on fire, then suck in harder.
Interesting that it doesn't, my hips don't clonk when I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Usually they do.
Yeah. So anytime you're doing these, I'm just doing that cadence slow and focus on the, like, you get time under tension, so you're working the muscle, like, you probably start to shake pretty soon, eh?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, but yeah.
Yeah. So you can make these harder by extending the arm back, opposite arm back, yeah, which you can't do because of the room, but you could put an ankle weight on your leg.
Okay.
And you can also just, you can hold a weight above your head and like use that as an anchor and like brace yourself. That will also help engage it a bit. Just try not to let your knee lock out. when you go back.
Yeah.
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 I won't give you too much more because that's probably enough to focus on for now. But honestly, those like all those exercises are fundamentally we're just working your like spine position in different ways. So your hips need to work on tilting and shifting back.
Yeah, the shift back's new. That's new to me. I didn't know that.
It's a really like common miss for a lot of people. It's like everyone knows about anterior tilt and posterior tilt, but we also forget to do anterior shift and posterior shift. So most people are forward shifted. We need to shift back.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Which is going to make a big difference. So I like even just doing, if you're doing like hip hinge, just practicing like, I mean, your shoulders are down and forward, right? So if you're holding a barbell, it's going to force your shoulders to go down and forward.
Yeah.
If you don't need necessarily barbell, but if you do want to hold a weight, just hold dumbbells and keep your scapulars, your shoulder blades like really elevated and lifted, and start getting your chest being better in this position rather than dumped down. Because I said about that height of your shoulders, like that's where you get them. Yeah. So you want to be able, your thoracic is quite weak, like rounded. So you want to start putting that in and tightening it out, strengthening it. But if anytime you do like a hip hinge movement, just think about like, so start with those hips back, that tailbone's tucked to start, and then as you hip hinge, you go anterior tilt, so you stick the bum out a little bit. So you have like a little curve in the lower back, but the tummy should be really sucked in still. And in here, when I come up, don't think about like driving the hips forwards. Think about keeping the hips back as much as you can. And then still getting the posterior tilt in. So you're still tucking that tailbone, but you're avoiding going into that. Yeah.
Are you talking about deadlifting or anything?
Yeah, anything like any hip hinge movement. So you can apply it to the squat if you've got a hip hinge there. Because we're told to squeeze the butt cheeks at the top, right?
Yeah.
But if I squeeze the butt cheeks and I don't control the shift, well, that's what happens. Yeah, I shift forward.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
So I can keep shifted back and tuck the tailbone. That engages the glutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you lock in that core, like TBA, suck it in. Like I know with squats, you know where I'm at with like compression on the spine now. I kind of avoid that, but we're told to fill up the air and really brace. I know this is teaching you to do the opposite, right? It's teaching you to suck in and open the rib cage and engage the TBA core muscle, because that's what's actually stronger and bracing.
So you're generally avoiding squatting with a barbell and deadlifting with a barbell now on your back.
Yes, and the real quick overview of that is squatting with a barbell just puts compression on the spine, so you're constantly forcing your spine into like. That's why you do a passive hang right after, because your like spine's just been at 100 kilos on the back. Okay. You think of doing that over your vertebrae, like for a couple of years, like 5 years, it might be fine. You do that for 50 years. And if you're rounded there, you keep compressing, what's going to keep happening around? Just going to keep forcing it around. And then deadlifts are, again, it's more like heavier weight, risk to rewards. When you get to the top of the deadlift, because that bar is stopping your hips go forward. Like if I keep coming into hip extension, I actually, to maintain like a proper engagement in the hips, I kind of do have to go into a little bit of a hip shift forward. Like the body, when it's going through gait, the hip shifts forwards and pull my leg through. So when I do that with the barbell stuck in front, I actually lose the tension here, and it kind of goes into the lower back. That's why everyone gets lower back in the deadlift. And you also create like a shear force in your spine. So when you lift the weight off the ground, and you've got your hips going forwards, those two forces meet, and you've got a shear force in your spine.
What about using like two kettlebells?
Better, as long as it's engaged, right?
Yeah, it's not engaged.
Yeah, but I'd say like honestly, the better variation is to go single leg, like a split stance, like a split stance, and doing it with one arm.
Okay.
because your body's contralateral, right? So deadlifts, everyone talks about the compound movements being like.
What do you mean? What's contralateral? What does that mean?
Opposites. Left leg, right leg. When I walk, try and sprint with your right arm and your right leg forward. You can't do it, right?
Okay. TikToking used to call it in the army.
Yeah. So when I walk, if I put a swing in, like my left leg and my right arm, so my body has a little natural tendency to rotate. And then every time I take a step, one hits in extension and one's in flexion.
Right.
Every time I do bilateral movements, which is where the feet are this like parallel, and I'm not rotating, and I'm using the arms and legs are doing the same thing, i.e. they're extending at the same time. They're both you're not teaching your hips to work in that contralateral movement, and you're not teaching our body to rotate.
Okay.
So your rotation is probably a big one for you as well.
What do you mean? That I need to?
Training rotation. Yeah.
Practice rotating.
Sorry?
What I need to make sure I'm doing it, or
I would make sure you're training rotation, yeah. So if I get
we do quite a lot of rotation stuff actually.
You got to put it, can you see this?
Yeah.
So cable row, like banded row.
Okay.
Hips really square. So I pull that cable in, push that other arm out, let the rib cage kind of rotate, but don't let your hips rotate. That will like light up your obliques.
Okay.
If you're maintaining that like neutral spine, or you're training all the other things we did in that standing position, that will like help with that a lot. So then it just fast track. So like you've done that standing position, you know kind of how to get your spine into that good position. You start doing things like rows and presses, single arm, and hip hinges, and medicine ball slams, and dumbbell overhead press, like single arm, so you get some rotation in there. Start doing all that, applying those principles.
Okay. Is this something that would be good in a warm-up? Is it something that I should just be training? Is it like, how would you sort of structure a workout around that?
Yeah, I mean, the way I train it now is this is like my only training.
That's all you do. Yeah.
This is what I always do, right? So we kind of like phase things into, so take your back, like not quite now, but a few days ago, you come in with a bad back. It's like, right, we need to correct that. So we do corrective exercises to get your spine back into the most neutral, not just your spine, but your spine, your rib cage, your hips, your legs, back into the most neutral position possible. And then we start loading that up so that you can move without pain and you're moving well. And then you can start taking that into a more dynamic kind of situation where you pick up some heavy balls, maybe you do some like lunges with a jump and a split squat, like, but you're able to control your body.
Start again, basically. Start again. I know nothing.
Start again, yeah. Do that 10-week effort course. It's unbelievable. Change your life.
And when was the last time you got injured?
Well, actually recently, I'm not gonna lie, because I got no, but that's like I'm still fixing myself, right? I've grown up doing training that you've done. Yeah. And I've still got a lot of issues. Do you remember me doing a lot of work on my right knee and my right hip? We used to jammy when I squatted in my right knee and right hip. So recently, about 3 or 4 months ago, I was out doing some sprints and my heel, my plantar fasciitis just blew up the next day. It was like agony. And then long story short, I've got because of what I said to you about squats, right? So we're always taught to go, adjust that. Always taught to go knees out when I squat. Yeah, so now my internal rotation so what I'm doing here is I'm spreading the floor apart and then I'm trying to rotate my femurs in. So I'm trying to get my legs to pop out. My left does it a lot easier than my right because I'm really tight all through here, through my left side of my leg, because I've always been taught knees out when I squat.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And I'm probably being a bit more right when I squat, so I'll probably put a bit more weight onto my right, just because I'm stronger. So what's basically happened is like when I walk on my right side, I have like a pronation when I walk, which is from my like external rotator and like jam that's in the hip or not like working properly.
Yeah.
And my right side of my back used to get worse. So now I've got a bone spur on my heel, which I've been broken off.
Oh, blimey.
Plantar fasciitis takes so much tension, and then that puts a lot of tension in the heel.
Yeah.
Your heel starts going, because it takes a lot of impact. Your heel's like, fuck, we need reinforcements. It starts growing more bone.
Yeah, that's funny. I used to have plantar fasciitis. That was like the first injury I had.
Yeah.
That was one of the ones.
Way better. I've just been training, like I've just been doing a lot of like hip external, internal rotation stuff to try and really unlock that.
Okay.
Because like someone tagged me in a video recently, and they were kind of joking, but it was like, this one thing will solve your plantar fasciitis, and it was like someone cupping the plantar fasciitis. It was like, that's bullshit. It fixes it helps relieve the pain in the plantar fasciitis, but it doesn't fix the root cause of the problem.
Well, that's what I'm really good at. Like, I'm really good at not rehabbing, just getting rid of pain. So I've done that with my lower back, right? But I've not fixed the root problem.
Fixing the root cause. So the root cause of your problem is your anterior shift, your lack of TVA engagement, and your anterior tilt. Maybe, but there's sort of related to that.
There could be other things. Could you build me a little program to stick to? And then how long do you think I would need to stick to that program to see some correction, some progress?
If you did 2 or 3 sessions a week for 3 months, you'd probably see like really, really, really good change.
3 months. Okay, cool.
I know. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Cheers, bro. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to say on recording?
I don't think so. I mean,
how do people get in touch with you if they want to do what I've just done and have an hour with you? Is that a possibility? It's a possibility, maybe. Or not.
It's a time zone.
In Australia,
basically.
But they can ask, right?
Definitely message. They can definitely ask.
Okay. And Andy Price on Instagram.
Andy Scott Price _ I think. I'm really inactive on Instagram at the moment, but I'll be on there. Andy Scott Price _ yeah.
Okay.
And the first pinned photo on my feed is a posture screen of me. So if someone wants something like that, then they can definitely reach out to me.
Perfect. Okay, cool. And then you can even point them in the right direction.
Either point them in the direction or give them a mini diagnosis if it's not too severe. But if someone's, that's like where we start. That's where I started with you, right? Give you the posture screen. That tells me a lot of like exactly what's going on. And then that's the way we train and program everyone. I don't have a set program written out for someone. I go like, what does your body need there and then? Like the session we just did today, right? I didn't plan it. I just see what your body needs. Posture is about like storing tensions in the body. So you're too tight places and you're too loose in places. So we're trying to rebalance that. And that can be like forward, back, that can be up and down, that can be like rotational, that can be in like multitude of planes, right?
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
No worries. Happy to help.